Hello and welcome to It's a Code You, mental health support for those working in healthcare. This is a podcast created for healthcare employees to explore not only issues relating to mental and emotional health, but also unique challenges that those working in healthcare are faced with. Your hosts are Adina Tucker, a licensed clinical social worker with Dartmouth Health, and Jennifer Hinsey, an MSW also with Dartmouth Health.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Code You. The holiday season is approaching, and sometimes that can be difficult for various reasons. Today, we're going to be talking about how to prepare for your first holiday season post relationship ending, divorce, or separation. And we just want to acknowledge that there are all kinds of relationships and couples, and maybe you were with your ex for a long time and shared lots of holidays together. And this is the first one where you aren't together. We want to hold space for you as well. There's room for all of us, no matter what our specific circumstances that brought us here are. And the end of a significant romantic relationship can be difficult, even if you feel relief that the relationship is over. Even if you feel like it was the right decision, you will likely still grieve the relationship. And in relationships where maybe things aren't as healthy or as good as they could be, you still have that hope that you and your partner can grow together and work on being healthier together. So part of that ending is grieving what you had hoped the relationship might be one day. Change is difficult, and we just really want to acknowledge how tough it can be and that everyone's experiences and life circumstances are different, but they are all valid. So, in light of all of that, today we're going to be talking about ways you can prepare yourself for the holidays, some tips to try and make it a little easier and hopefully joyful as well. And we know that it can be very difficult. I myself am divorced, and sometimes the holidays are still difficult for me. But let's go on this journey together and prep ourselves for the holidays. So, the first thing we want to suggest is to prepare yourself. I think it's easy to think, oh, this holiday is not going to be a big deal. Being divorced, I'll be just fine. And I get that because I too, like you, Adina, am divorced. And I went into the first holiday season post divorce with that same thought. Not a big deal. I can get through this. Been through worse, that's for sure. But either way, it doesn't hurt to prepare yourself for the possibility that it might be difficult or that the holidays, they might come with some big emotions. It is okay to not be okay. And it's hard to move through these life events after ending a relationship. So acknowledge that it may be difficult, even if you're thinking you're going to be fine. Spend some time thinking about things that bring you joy. Maybe there's holiday events or traditions that you've always wanted to do and your ex didn't want to. Well, now you have the chance to do all of those things just for you. Think about what times might be the most difficult for you. Are there certain parts of the holidays where you and your ex would do something special that might be a little bit more difficult to get through? Thinking about those ahead of time so you can decide how to best care for yourself, that can save you from anything sneaking up on you. Find someone you care about who makes you feel better about yourself and see if you can spend key moments with this person that might be hard for you. What we mean by that is we all have people who we love and that we know love us, but they don't necessarily make us feel better. We've all had that loved one who wanted to point out how better off we were without that person. Even if that were to be true, it's just not very helpful when you're grieving. So think about someone who you care about, but always makes you feel better. And maybe you can celebrate with them or join their family for a celebration or invite them over to your place for a special holiday night. You could also consider finding somewhere to volunteer. Doing something nice for someone else gives us a boost and makes us feel good. It might also be a good distraction to do something that is out of your normal holiday routine. If you're going to be alone for the holiday, still have a plan in place. Have a meal planned, plan some activities so you have something to focus on, even if you think you might just spend all day in bed waiting for the day to be over. Those are great suggestions, and especially the one about spending time with people who make you feel better. because I know what you're talking about when you say people who don't make you feel better, but who we know love us. So the next suggestion goes along with some of the things that Jennifer's already mentioned, but it's to reach out to those who care about you. And often when we're dealing with a divorce or a big breakup, we turn inward. We don't want to bother anyone. Maybe we don't even want to think about it. And we're worried that if we reach out to other people, then we'll have to talk about it. But those who truly love us want to be there for us, even if we don't feel comfortable asking for help. And you can always communicate, I don't wish to talk about this, but I wish to spend time with you, and make that boundary clear. So reach out to those who love you and let them know you're trying to plan out your holiday. Ask what their plans are and if they'd be able to include you, or if you don't feel comfortable, ask if they could plan a lunch or time to hang out together around the holidays. Connecting with those who love us is good for us, even if you can't do it on the actual holiday. And this goes for those who mean a lot but don't live nearby. Technology luckily makes it so that now we can stay connected to others no matter where they are. You could ask your best friend who lives across the country for a FaceTime call on the days when you feel most vulnerable, or plan a Zoom holiday party with several friends. I know during the pandemic, I had a lot of weekly Zoom group calls, and I had some other friends who even put together game nights, game trivia nights over Zoom, so that you can get creative with it and try to create some excitement about connecting with your loved ones. And these are some suggestions for navigating the holidays if it's just you. But what if you have kids? Divorcing with the children or breaking up when you have children comes with its own bundle of difficulties. And you may feel guilty about the breakup. Maybe your child or children are angry about the breakup. And all of these feelings are normal and valid, but they do make it hard. So we have some suggestions to make things easier on you and to help with co-parenting. So the first suggestion I have is to try to coordinate gifts if possible and not to compete to outdo the other parent. Financial stress is a big part of the holidays as well. And so when you mix in what I call the divorce guilt, it's easy to go overboard and create more stress. So if your situation is amicable, or if the two of you are at least doing a good job with communication, try to communicate your holiday plans ahead of time. And if you can be flexible with one another, do that. Your kids are going to want to spend time with each of you. And the more you can try to work together, the easier it's going to be on everybody. However, I will validate and acknowledge that not all co parenting situations work that way. And some of you might be struggling with an ex that has poor communication, or maybe they are more focused on themselves and what they want, or just behaving in a way that they feel is punishing to you. And all of that can be very difficult. So I want to validate those experiences as well.
I think that is such a great point, Adina. It reminds me the stories we often hear about folks who have left abusive relationships. Holidays are typically a trigger time for an abusive ex to reach out or try to stir up difficult emotions, arguments, things like that. So, great point. Another concern folks might have about the holidays could be around the schedule. What if you aren't supposed to have your children around a certain part of the holidays when you would normally have something special that you do together? Well, this is a good opportunity to just be honest with your children. Things will be different, but that doesn't mean that they can't be just as fun and just as special. Let them know that even if you won't have them on whatever day was normally a special day for you all, that you will have your own special time to celebrate together. Maybe even think about getting their input to come up with a new tradition for yourself or for them. There are no rules. You can create the experience that you want and what works for you and your children. Remember, the holidays are only a few days, so even if it feels impossible, you really can get through them. You can be okay, and you can have joyous moments. It's okay to be sad or to miss old traditions. Even if you feel that your divorce or breakup was the right decision, there are things that you will grieve, and that's okay. Just remember that now you have the opportunity to keep what works for you and get rid of what doesn't. You can create new traditions.
In the spirit of new traditions, I will give an example from a friend of mine that when I was going through my own divorce, she talked to me about the fact that she doesn't have her children on Thanksgiving. And she was really concerned about being very sad about it. So she created a tradition of going to the beach by herself for a few days, bringing a book that she liked, just sitting and relaxing and just having some time for herself, which often as parents, that's sometimes you get very little time for yourself. So I really liked the way that her experience took control of it and really turned it into something really positive for herself. I think part of it she mentioned was also acknowledging just the sadness of, I wish I was with my kids, but also I can create a really great space for myself as well.
Absolutely. It's an opportunity to create holidays within holidays, but it's a whole opportunity to make special moments just for you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my point in mentioning that story is just it's one thing that can really help with trying to get through a tough time after a breakup is something called reframing or cognitive restructuring. And that's what my friend did. We use it a lot to help people deal with anxiety or other issues, but what we say to ourselves matters. So the more you can strive to look at something a different way, the better you're going to feel about it. An example about the trip I just mentioned is one way. Instead of the thought, I'm not going to be able to be with my kids for Thanksgiving, turn it into, I'm going to give myself whatever I need and reconnect with myself. And you can do it for whatever your specific circumstance is. Just take whatever that thought is and try to think of it in a different way. And we often remember the good times after a divorce or a breakup, but remembering that there's also a reason why your relationship ended and it's okay to move forward in a new way can be very healing. So, just to recap what we've gone over today, prepare even if you feel like you don't need to. Reach out to those you care about. If you have children, try to coordinate and be flexible and communicate and make it a fun, positive thing to create new traditions and activities with your kids. And remember that it's okay to be sad and to grieve, but it's also okay to allow yourself to find joy and to laugh. And as much as you can, try to reframe those negative thoughts into thoughts of positive change and recognize for yourself that change is hard and you are grieving and be gentle with yourself. And we want to thank you so much for listening today. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave us a rating and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, please reach out to us at dhbhs.media at hitchcock.org. We so appreciate you listening, and we hope you have a wonderful day.